ASTS, yes, yes, yes. Now, AST SpaceMobile Incorporated, ticker symbol ASTS, listed here on the NASDAQ, having a massive breakout day. And we spoke about this, I don't know when it was, last week or something like that, but I was looking, I remember, at the Bollinger Bands, and we were seeing like around this like 11 and a half, potential $12 retracement level. And that's exactly what the stock did. It looked like we were in this upward channel here, and you can see that the stock, even though it slightly broke out here last Thursday, you can see it just kind of slightly channeled down and just kind of hung out at that top trend line, you know? And then we can see Monday just boom, popping up, exploding above it. Because we can see here technically, right here on the last candle, you can see technically this was the last candle right here. I know it might be hard to see, but technically this was above the top trend line of this range we were looking at, right? Most of the time the stock, as you see, for about a week straight now, has been above this 20-day moving average, coming down, testing a few times, but basically always bouncing up higher. And we can see that because we closed above this trend line, that basically just continued momentum, because technically we don't have much news coming out on this stock. Not much has really happened, and I just think that a lot of people saw where it was, they heard the news, and they said, you know what, before this thing goes to 40 or wherever it's going, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to buy some shares. I don't care if it's $9, $11 a share, it doesn't matter. But also, we recently had a couple of price target upgrades, as we see here. Scotiabank maintained AST SpaceMobile with a sector outperform, raised price target from 740 to 1290. UBS analyst maintained AST SpaceMobile with a buy, raised price target from 7 to 13. So now it seems like the average price target is like 13 and change. I know we have some people saying like 18, $20 a share, I think. Let's check, actually. Nope. Yeah, so we can see max price target up here, $22 a share. 5 analysts watching it right now, right? 4 giving it a strong buy, 1 giving it a buy. And we can see average price target here of about 15 and a half. Now, technically the company really did rage here. Remember, the stock was at like the low twos. Where was it? Middle of May, right? So basically in the last 30 days, we just went from 230 to 1230. And again, on the news of AT&T extending the contract out to 2030, which of course is good news. Did it warrant a big explosion like this? I don't know. But again, at the same time, I know you guys were hyped about it. A lot of people were watching it. They were buying the big dips. You guys were talking about the short float. And then boom, the stock explodes up to like 5. Okay, fine, no problem. We spoke about potentially retesting this $4 level, and we can see the stock perfectly came down to that level and then bounced up and stayed bullish, getting right to this next trend line that we spoke about previously. And then boom, we got the announcement that Verizon making a $100 million investment into the stock, and we have just been on the up and up since there. So I am very happy for all you shareholders. Of course, we can see, though, here, before the stock took the next leg higher coming right out of the gate, you can see it popped up and came back to retest around this $12 level before it shot up. And then it came down and it channeled just sideways around this $12 level, and then it dropped down. And then when it started to climb, that this is right where it stopped, right? And then we can see a pop above, and it comes down to retest, tries to hold, rejects, comes back down, tries to retest and hold, rejects, same thing, rejects, right? And we can see even here on this big run up at the top trend line that we recently got above, which technically I said was bullish, so that's why we could have seen continued momentum, which of course we did. But we can see the stock ran up right to that level, and then it had a pop up here to about 14, and then it came down, started to channel sideways around that $12 level, and had the big rejection since then. Again, this is August of 22. So this stock basically at, like 2-year highs now, going back to where we were around August of 22. So, I mean, technically, looking at a lot of the technical indicators, I mean, we really should be pulling back, but we're just consistently getting these positives that are just helping to fuel the situation, right? So a lot of people may have taken profits. A lot of people may think this is an overreaction, but of course we have analysts still coming out now and saying, no, it's a buy. Now we're beefing up our price targets, again, going from about 7 and change up to about $13. Both of those analysts, for the most part, came in. So seeing the stock having a pop here up to 12 and being up a chunk on that news, understandable. But technically, again, the RSI overextended here, sitting at 82 and a quarter here on the daily, but that hasn't really stopped the stock before. But realistically, we do have to be realistic, and we might see a rejection here. Steam friend, my apologies, I always forget. But we can see also top Bollinger Band popped up to 1238. Stock hit a high today, 1237, and then has stopped and has since been pulling back. Now it's sitting here at sub $12 as of right now. But we technically did run up to the top Bollinger Band. So now this is why I'm saying we might begin to slowly start pulling back. You might see, like around that $10 range again. If the RSI realistically does start to pull back, as I expect, then, if this starts to pull back to the 60s and the 50s, that's why I'm saying, in my opinion, you might see 10 or sub 10. I'm really, again, you can't just move in one direction. Right? So that's why, realistically, for a healthy move here, in my opinion, it really should pull back to this mid-Bollinger Band. But we spoke about this even a couple of days ago, the last time we looked at it. The Bollinger Band, I think, was like a point lower. It was like down here. And now we're up here at $8 a share. And this is what we speak about when we talk about, continuous momentum and the consistent positives and the consistent catalysts coming in. Because now this stock is just chunking higher and higher and higher. The top Bollinger Band is slowly going to climb up with it. Look at our bottom Bollinger Band. Was down here at 2, went off the screen, right? Because anytime there's a big pop or drop, our Bollinger Bands trumpet. We speak about this. Then we have a big curl, and now you can see the bottom Bollinger Band's up here at 3.5. Again, when this whole run started, the stock was at 230. Now your bottom Bollinger Band is 3.5. So that might be, like, quote unquote, your low of the low, right? I spoke about the $4 level, which in my opinion is a key level, and we can see the 200-day moving average steadily dropping with the stock over the years, and now we're curling, starting to head back up. Now our 200-day moving average is at $4. 50-day moving average just went from 2.5 to over 4.5 just in the last 30 days. So now we have multiple support levels here at around 8, around 460, 4, 3.5, and again, we started at 230. So technically, looking at a lot of these support levels, it does look like the stock is in pretty good shape here. Of course, the MACD just flying high. Let's switch over to the weekly real quick. I'll let you go. Weekly RSI, same thing, right? We're up here at 84.5 now, right? So something's got to give. Top Bollinger Band on the weekly is 10.09, which is why, again, I'm expecting a pullback to 10, basically. But you can see, again, similar levels here, even on the weekly. 200-day, 767. And we can see the 50-day moving average, same thing. Falling off a cliff with the stock, now curling and starting to climb over the last 4 weeks. 50-day moving average now at 423. Mid-Bollinger Band at 433. So that's why, worst case scenario, you might see like 4, low 4s, but then technically the stock really should bounce and start to head back up. If, again, I'm speaking, if it does really start to chunk down and sell off to that 4, then it should technically bounce there and start to run back up to the 7s. But realistically, even if it does cool and it drops down to like 8 or like 770 and touches some of those levels, we might see a bounce there, and it might try to head back up to $9, $10. So that right there seems to be the key level to watch, like around 770, kind of around those moving averages and that mid-Bollinger Band. And the RSI just seems a little overextended here, which I know is what I said last time, but the stock technically still closed above the line, so it was still bullish. I appreciate that. I thought it was kind of going to stay in that rising wedge range that we spoke about. I'm looking at FinViz right now. Again, I don't know how up-to-date these numbers are. It's still showing a short float of 24.3%, which kind of throws me for a loop. That this is why I have to... I'm not exactly sure how up-to-date this is, because I feel like that number hasn't moved since the stock has. Maybe you guys can correct me, but I think it was basically around the same number. So either, that isn't extremely up to date, or as we were pumping, we were getting the same amount of people coming in and shorting the stock potentially. I'm not sure. But either which way, again, RSI pretty high, and I just wanted to point out a couple of potential key levels to look at, and that's why, again, I showed previously how many times right out of the gate the stock was dancing around, breaking up through, and then coming back to retest around this $12 level. So with the stock running up to that $12 level, I kind of had a feeling that was going to happen. However, also, if we kind of just draw along our bottoms here, right, you can see we were trending kind of on the up and up and up, and then after hitting that high, 1237, again, top Bollinger Band, 1238, and it stopped right there, came back to the trend line, tried to stay up, and now we can see we just broke below that trend line. So technically, we might start pulling back here a little bit, although we do have a potential double bottom right there, which could bring us back up. But either way, again, you guys know no one is ever going to be 100% correct. And I know originally I said, hey, nothing of urgency, and then you guys have had the big catalyst come out. So I know that you guys, a lot of you were holding this for a while, and a lot of you owned it up at like $4, $5, $6 a share. So the fact that the stock went on this tear, and now a lot of you went from a consistent red position to now being up like 100%, 150%. I'm very, very ecstatic for you all. I really do mean that. Obviously, the big revenue miss really had nothing to do with the situation, and no one's looking at those fundamentals anymore. And people are now seeing the contract extension with AT&T, the investment with Verizon, and now they're viewing this as a winner, even though technically nothing has happened yet. Again, I'm not trying to rain on your parade, but $3.1 billion market cap, in my opinion, overextended here. And again, just to remind you, the satellites aren't even delivered yet. They're looking for July, August delivery, and then we have to wait for them to get launched, and then hopefully revenue will start coming in, which is why I'm saying if it does start to sell off and pull back kind of like half of this run, and then it bounces and starts to climb going into those months, in my opinion, that would make sense. But you know, we'll keep an eye on it. You guys know I've been trying to update this like every couple of days or once a week. I know you guys said not many people are talking about it, and I started doing the updates, so I appreciate the views, I appreciate the attention. But again, overall, in my opinion, happy for you guys, but just wanted to point out a couple of levels potentially that the stock could pull back to. And let's check the pivot points real quick. And we can see here on the weekly, top pivot point here at 971. And Steam Friend, my apologies. And if we switch over here to the daily, we can see we were at 1108 and we just chunked up above it, right? So this is what I mean. With the RSI overextended now, technically closing above this resistance level is bullish, right? A lot of you may know that. But now, because the RSI is overextended, you might have a pullback over the next couple of days to retest that level, and then we might bounce and could potentially run up to 1388. In my opinion, I really do think that's a stretch. Even here at 12, it really is an overreaction, realistically. But, hey, I mean, you know, if a stock's running and we see bullish momentum and we see some technical indicators showing us that a stock's going to keep going, then, hey, we got to jump on board. We got to ride the wave. And we have to make money any way it is, you know, any way it is. And I know I even have some people in the Discord, you know, I'll mention a stock and they'll mention like, oh, they're in this business. I really don't like stocks like that, you know, things like that. And I appreciate where you're coming from. But, you know, again, even like this time last year, I was saying that certain stocks like Shopify, Spotify may have been overextended. And in my opinion, I really didn't understand it. And, you know, they kept climbing. So, you know, this is why sometimes we have to just ride the wave, take what the market gives us, you know, put our pride in our back pocket, even potentially put our moral compasses in our back pocket. And we may have to take a position in a situation that we may not morally agree with or personally like the business or anything like that. But at the end of the day, again, you know, if you jumped in something like ASTS down at $4 and now it's at 12, you know, you're not going to sit there and bitch and moan and try to talk about any negatives or any personal feelings you have about the situation, because you'd be up 200% and, you know, you'd be pretty thrilled with that, I'd assume. But yeah, I'm gonna end it there because technically we really don't have much news minus those recent price target upgrades, and now it may start coming back down to earth a little bit with everyone waiting for that July August satellite delivery. That's probably the next time, in my opinion, you might see another rally and another explosion in the stock. But I'm gonna end it there. So once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel, right? And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, they're very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for your time. Have a good day.